Good morning everyone. This is Vijayasri, working as an assistant professor, Department of CSIT, MLR Institute of Technology. In today's session, we'll discuss about pointers in C. Overview of the session: what is a pointer, need of pointers in C program, double pointer. So before discussing about what is a pointer, we'll know how to declare a variable. How to declare a variable? To declare a variable, the syntax is data type, variable name. Data type, variable name. Here, I want to declare a variable of type integer, then int. Let us suppose the variable name is A. When we declare a variable, what happens? When we declare a variable, so the some space for this variable A is allocated in the computer's memory. Suppose this is the memory fragment or memory layout. This is a memory layout, let us suppose. Each one is of 1 byte. The address of this, suppose the address of this is 1000. Next one is, each one is of 1 byte. So it is 1001, 1002, 1003, 4, 5, 6, 7, so on. So when we declare a variable, some space is allocated for that in the computer's memory, for this variable in the computer's memory. So here the variable is A, which is of type integer. So integer occupies 2 bytes of memory. Suppose 2 bytes, it depends on the operating system, it will allocate 2 bytes or 4 bytes. Here we consider 2 bytes of memory is allocated to the variable A. So suppose here we have a A, these 2 bytes is allocated for this variable. Now, I am declaring here one more variable. Now, what is a pointer? So, pointer is a special type of variable which holds the address of another variable. Suppose, declare a variable, pointer variable like int star p, where p is a variable, but here we use a star, that is asterisk, which is called as a dereference operator. How to declare a normal variable? To declare a normal variable, just simply we'll write the data type, that is int, and a variable name, suppose int p. So int p is like a int a, which is a normal variable declaration. Before p, if we prefix that with a asterisk, like a dereference operator, now this becomes a pointer variable. What is the purpose of this pointer variable? Pointer variable holds address of another variable. Like a normal variable, here I declared int asterisk p, in which some more memory is allocated to this variable p also, which is of type integer. So 2 bytes of memory, 2 bytes of space is allocated to that variable p in the computer's memory. So let us suppose here we have a p. But here I used asterisk symbol, which is called a dereference operator. The purpose of the dereference operator is it holds address of another variable of whose data type is integer. P is a variable which holds address of another variable whose data type is integer. Suppose pointers in C. In C programming language, we use a normal variable to store user data value. We use normal variables to store user data value. Let us suppose To declare a normal variable, data type, variable name. Here I am assigning this with the value 10. We use normal variables to store data values. This is a normal variable which is used to store a data value of 10 of type integer. So what happens in the memory? Some space is allocated to the variable a when we declare, which is of type integer. This a is holding the value or storing the value 10 of type integer. Suppose the address of this is 1000. When we declare a variable, the compiler allocates required memory. Here the compiler allocates the required memory. For that, how much memory is allocated to this? 2 bytes of memory, because it is of type integer. With the specified name, the name of that variable is a. In C programming language, every variable has a name, data type, value, storage class and address. So here the variable is a, which is of type integer, it is storing the value 10 and the address of that memory location is 1000. A pointer is defined as follows. A pointer is a special type of variable used to store the memory location address of a variable. Pointer is a special type of variable. It is also like a variable. But how can we identify it as a pointer? Before the variable name, it is prefixed with a star. Let us suppose here the pointer name is ptr, which is of type integer. The pointer is always prefixed with the symbol asterisk. It is also like a variable, like a normal, it is like a normal variable. Some more memory is allocated for this pointer also. So, here we have a ptr. Some memory is allocated to this also. How much memory is allocated? This ptr is also type integer. So, 2 bytes of memory is allocated for this. But the purpose of pointer is used to store memory location. Memory location address of another variable, of a variable. So here the variable a is 10, which is having address 1000. If I am using a pointer is a variable which is used to store address of another variable. Here the variable is a. The address is represented with the operator, address operator. This is also having some address called 2000, but it is not holding a value. It is storing the memory location address of a variable. The memory location address of a variable is 1000. So here we have a 1000. That means it is pointing to that particular location. But whose data type is integer? If I declare a particular variable like a float a 10.5, that means here variable a is float data type which is holding the data 10.5. If I want to store the address of this float variable, let us suppose it is of 2000. If I want to store address of a float variable, then we have to declare a pointer variable whose data type is float. Now, declare a pointer variable called ptr1. If I want to store the address of a variable a which is holding a value float, then your pointer must be also float type, whose data type is float. Now we can pass ptr1 is equal to address of a. Now here we are storing ptr1. Suppose if I want to store address of a variable who is holding the character values or character data type, then our pointer must be also of that type. So suppose here we have ch is a variable which is of type character. That means it can store character values, character data types. So A. So what happens in the memory? Some space is allocated where character is of 1 byte. So 1 byte of space is allocated to the variable ch, but it is storing the value A. Let us suppose the base address of this is 5000. If I want to store this address, if I want to store the address, then we have to declare a pointer. So suppose here I am declaring a pointer. How to declare a pointer? Pointer name that must be prefixed with a asterisk. So pointer can hold address of another variable ch, but this is also must be a character type. So char ptr. So when we declare this, what happens? Some memory is allocated to this pointer also like a normal variable. So this is ptr2 suppose, which is of character type. That means it can store the address of another variable whose data type is character. That means here ptr2 can store address of another variable whose data type is character. So when we declare a pointer, some memory is allocated to this ptr2 also. It is also having some address. Let us suppose it is 6000. But what it stores? It stores address of another variable whose data type is character. So here it stores 5000. So it is pointing to here. So what is a pointer? Pointer is a special type of variable used to store address of another variable of same type. How to declare a pointer variable? In C programming, declaration of pointer variable is similar to the creation of a normal variable, but it must be prefixed with a symbol asterisk. So how to declare a normal variable? Data type A. When it become a pointer variable, when that particular name is prefixed with a asterisk symbol. Now it is a pointer variable. So the syntax of that pointer declaration is data type asterisk pointer name. Here the data type is integer star A. Example int star ptr. In the above example declaration, the variable ptr is a pointer variable that can be used to store any integer variable address, because the pointer is also declared with a integer type, so that it can hold the address of another variable whose data type is int. Accessing variable using a pointer. Pointer variables are used to store address of other variable. We can use this address to access the value of the variable through its pointer. We use asterisk in front of the pointer variable name to access the value. Let us suppose we'll see with the example. So always the execution starts from main section. Here I declared a variable, a normal variable called A, which is storing a value 10 of type integer. If I want to store the address of that variable, the address of this variable, let us suppose it is 1000, the address of this is, if I want to store this address, then the pointer must be also of type int. So int star ptr. When we declare a ptr, star asterisk PTR, we know that it is a dereference operator. That means this is a pointer variable. Pointer variable purpose, it stores address of another variable of whose data type is integer or of same type. The value of a variable A. So the value of a variable A is 10. Printf, value of a variable A is equal to %d. Here I used %d as a format specifier because it is of type integer. Then address of a variable A. Address of a variable A, when we declare a pointer, it is also having some address called 2000. But what it do? Where is the address? PTR is equal to address of A. So what is the address of? This is the name of the variable. This is value, and here we have address of that variable. Now PTR is equal to address of A. What is the address of A? Here we have 1000. So here we store 1000. That means this PTR. If I want to print the address of the variable A, where is the address of variable A? Here we have in the PTR. So printf address of variable A is equal to %d PTR. Now we can see here in the console window, value of variable A, it is 10. Then address of variable A, it is like always the address is in the form of hexadecimal. Here we are considering 1000 for our simplicity purpose. Here I declare a variable A whose data type is integer. That means this variable can hold integer type values only. Now if I want to store address of that integer variable, then we have to declare a pointer of that type. Then int b is equal to 70. B is also data type integer. If I want to store the address of B whose data type is integer, then the variable is also of same type. So A, the value of A is 10. Let us suppose the address of this is 2000. So in that way, memory is allocated for this. This is the variable name. Here, this is the value. This is the address of that variable. Now here we declared PTR also. So some memory is allocated to this PTR also like a normal variable. But here PTR is the pointer variable. Purpose of pointer variable, it can store address of another variable whose data type is integer. So here PTR, some more memory is allocated to this. The address of this particular PTR variable is 3000. But PTR is equal to address of A. Address means ampersand we use, so the address of A is here 2000. So 2000 is stored in the pointer variable. So just point to here. Then we have a B. B is a normal variable like a A. So here we have a B which is holding the value 70. Let us suppose the address of this variable is 4000. So this is the name of the variable. This is value which that variable is holding. Then this is the address where the variable is located. Then we have S is equal to address of B, where S is a pointer variable. Pointer variable can only hold the address of another variable. So some space is allocated to that variable S, where it is a pointer variable. Let us suppose the address of this is 5000. S is equal to address of B. What is address of B? Here we have a B variable. The address of B is 4000. So it is equal to 4000. So here this is holding 4000. That means it is pointing to here. Printf value of a variable. If I want to print a value of a variable, then value of variable is of type integer. So %d A. Here we got A. Then address of a A. Address of a A, where it is? Address of a A is stored in PTR. So if I want to print address of a A, then we have to use a PTR, where PTR is also of type integer, so format specifier is %d. Then a value of B is 70. If I want to print that, then value of B %d. If I want to print address of the variable B, address of the variable B is stored in pointer variable S. So address of variable B is equal to %d, because pointer S is also of type integer. So %d, comma yes. Let us suppose here declare a variable called float. Float A is equal to 10.5. So what happens like an integer variable? Some space is allocated to this A, which is holding value 10.5 at a location, suppose it is of 6000. Now if I want to store this address of that variable, but it is holding a value float type, then we have to declare a pointer to store the address of that variable. Let us suppose it is ptr1, whose data type is float, because here you want to store address of a variable who is holding float value. That's why pointer must be also of type float. So some space is allocated to this ptr1 like a A. But what does this pointer will do? It stores address of another variable. So here it is storing address of A. It is also stored some location. Address of A, it is 6000. So it is pointing to here. If I want to print value of this 10.5, then we have to use a function called printf. But this value is of type float. Then the format specifier we have to use here. Value of A is. Format specifier here we have to use is %f, comma A. Because A is of type float. If I want to print address of this variable A, then the address of variable A is stored in pointer ptr1. So address of A is, pointer is also type float, then format specifier is %f, comma ptr1. In the above example program, variable A is a normal variable and variable ptr is a pointer variable. So pointer variable means address of a variable A is stored in a pointer variable ptr. Then pointer to pointer in C. Pointer to pointer is also known as a double pointer. In C programming language, we have pointers to store address of a variable of any data type. So what the purpose of a pointer? Pointer stores address of another variable of any data type. A pointer variable can store address of a normal variable. A pointer variable can store address of a normal variable. C programming language also provides a pointer variable to store address of another pointer variable. Address of another pointer variable. This type of pointer variable is called pointer to pointer variable. Sometimes we call it as a double pointer. So pointer to pointer is also known as a double pointer. Suppose how to declare a variable int A. So how to declare a pointer? To declare a pointer, we have to use a symbol asterisk, then a pointer variable name ptr. If this pointer is holding the address of A, where A is of type integer, then pointer must be also type integer. Then what happens in the memory? This is A, which is of type integer. Here I did not initialize any value, so we may consider it as a 0. It can hold a value 0 or a garbage. So the base address of this is 1000. So what is the purpose of PTR? PTR is a pointer variable which stores address of another variable whose data type is int. So some space is allocated to this PTR also. Let us suppose it is at 2000. But it holds address of A, where address of A is 1000. That means here we have a 1000. It is pointing to here. If I want to store 2000, it is pointing to here. If I want to store the address of this PTR, the address of a pointer variable, if I want to store address of a pointer variable, that can be done using a double pointer. How to declare a double pointer? Syntax for creating a pointer to pointer is data type asterisk double asterisk pointer name. So here I want to store address of a pointer variable whose data type is int. So if I want to store that, pointer to pointer is also must be a integer type, then ptr1 suppose. So some space is allocated to this ptr1 also like a ptr. Then the address of this is 3000 suppose. What does this pointer to pointer will do? It stores address of another pointer. Here the pointer is PTR. So PTR1 stores address of another pointer. Here that is 2000. So this PTR1 is pointing to PTR. Here PTR is an integer pointer variable that stores address of another pointer variable. Here PTR1 is a pointer to pointer or a double pointer we consider. This can store address of another pointer. Here PTR is the pointer. It is storing that address. So we'll go with a simple program. Example program, always the execution starts from main section. Here I declared a variable A of 10. A 10. Let us suppose it is at a memory location 1000. So this is the variable name. This is a value and this is the address of that variable. Then int asterisk p. Here it is this is a pointer. So some space is allocated to this p also at a memory location 2000 suppose. Now we have int double asterisk p. This is double pointer because here we used, here it is prefixed with a 2 stars. Then some space is allocated to this q also. Suppose it is at 3000. Now p is equal to address of a, where p is a pointer. Pointer definition is, purpose of pointer is it can store address of another variable. So p is equal to address of a. What is address of a? Here we have address of a, that is 1000. So here we have 1000. It is pointing to here. Then q is equal to address of p. What is q? Q is the double pointer. Purpose of double pointer, it can store address of another pointer. So here another pointer is p. So that is address of p. Address of p is 2000. So here we have 2000. So it is pointing to here. Then printf, if I want to print address of p, then percentage x, here used percentage x because the address is in the form of hexadecimal. If I want to print address of a, address of a is stored in the pointer variable p. So then printf percentage x slash n p, where here I used this format specifier because address is in the form of hexadecimal. Then this is the address of the variable a. If I want to print address of a pointer variable, then the address of pointer variable is stored in q. double pointer. Then this is address of a P. If I want to print a value using the pointer, I want to access the value 10 using the pointer variable, then we have to use asterisk P, which is, this asterisk is the dereference operator. Then we can print the value which is stored in the variable A. Just simply if we used only P, it will print the address. If I want to access the value of 10 using the pointer, then we have to use a star P. If I want to print this value using Q, then we have to use double asterisk Q. So in this session, we have seen what is a pointer, then why we need a pointer, double pointer. The next session, we'll go with the pointer arithmetic. Thank you.